Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Open Major video today. Once again, trying to beat the buzzer here. We're recording this very last minute the night before, but yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a good episode. We'll see. I mean, you guys are going to have to watch to find out, but starting at 2023, so yeah, let's just hop into the duels here for the Open Major Qualifying. And our first game, we have Max here at 1831. Playing some NMBZ, so potentially we could lose some elo here, which is not too exciting. I don't know. We have red backlight to our car, driving left, Australia. Pole top in the distance maybe does look like the top of those Snupi poles, kind of like the angled like V one. I don't know how to explain it. Something like this. Yeah, but I didn't really notice it in the moment, so we just end up hedging, and we end up losing some points there. All right. These, like, I don't know what they're called. Like reeds, I guess? Or I don't know what the exact word for it is. Felt like BA, and it was a bit more coastal. Max committing a bit further out there, which I can respect. I always respect when people don't go for the hedge. Not that I'm one of them in that situation, but he is. We'll hop in around 3. Blackback a sign here. These wooden poles. Looks like we got a concrete pole there in the distance that gets a bit bigger at the top. Or at the bottom, rather. So, thought Italy was a good guess. Didn't know the region, but ends up being actually Po Valley with a hill. Which is fair enough. I mean, I probably should just be clicking Po Valley there. He goes Florence, which is understandable with all of the... with the vineyard that we had on the right. And we get a really poor quality camera, which should put us in Finland here with the landscape, and we end up picking up our first points of the duel, which is 154. Not a significant amount, but we hop in around 5. 1.5x damage. In Iceland, I noticed the road is hugging the water very closely here, so initially I clicked there. I'm like, oh, that doesn't line up, so I guess I have to go further up the road where it actually does hug the water with the mountains right there. Yeah, we just end up clicking there, and it ends up being a bit more north, which is fine. I mean, the 5K is not going to really do us much there, but yeah, 87 points is all good and dandy as we hop in around 6, double damage. In the United States of America, couldn't really place this one. It looked generally southern, I think. Like, the trees don't feel too northern to me. And yeah, I just figured I'd go for a Kentucky hedge. Looks like that truck plate... I was trying to lean on my monitor in real life, like in this game, which you obviously can't see, but I noticed it had no front, so yeah, I just thought hedging like maybe Kentucky, Tennessee would work, but it actually ends up being Oklahoma, and Max gets a nice region guess there with the states, and yeah, we end up losing a ton of points there, so not looking good on our front, round 7. We move into Colombia, and I know Max, I believe, used to live in Medellin, so... he definitely knows all about this country and everything like that. So I'm a bit scared that I might lose here, but it does look generally north. Quite a swampy looking landscape and these low trees, not really any mountains. And it didn't feel east of Andes to me. So with all of those factors, I kind of just went there. And he ends up getting the road, which, yeah, is quite understandable, I think. Being that he is probably one of the best Colombia players in GeoGuessr right now. We move it around 8, triple damage. Very hazy looking cam. Couldn't really place this one. I don't know why I didn't think of Ontario here. It makes a lot of sense with this road angle, I think, going slightly southwest. Because a lot of it is gridded like that. I end up going for New York, which is close enough. But I couldn't really place this in the US. It didn't really feel like Michigan or Wisconsin. But yeah, it just ends up being Ontario. We both send like pretty much in the area. He's in Ohio, I'm in New York. Yeah, we give each other a smile there. As we happen around 9, 3.5 in Kenya. With a big ridge to our west. Yeah, I wasn't really sure, so I ended up going and looking for this ridge. But dude, with the new map, it's actually very, very hard to scan. And I don't love it. And I see a ridge there, so I'm like, I mean, it doesn't really make sense because we're a bit too close to Lake Nakuru there. It ends up being south on this one-off white road here. And the ridge that we're looking at is there, so. We do pick up some points at least. We jump in around 10. Quad damage. In Norway, long outer dashes. pretty insane looking mountains, I would say. Maybe the trees are a bit too tall for where I've guessed, and maybe the mountains are a bit too heavily forested for where I've guessed, but I figured I'm down this much HP. I don't know. I thought if we get lucky with a one-off north guess, but he 5Ks pretty much anyway, so we end up losing here. And yeah, it's going to be a big hit to our elo, because we're down 24 ratings, so we're sub 2,000 now. But yeah, we hop into a game against Ricky Beast now at 1980. So chance to get some elo back here, as we are driving on the left, yellow center line with a very Indonesian-looking pole. Yeah, I wasn't too happy at myself for this one. But yeah, you guys will see, I click Central Kalimantan initially, and then I'm like, with the oil palms, I should probably be hedging. It just looks Kalimantan, doesn't it, with the road, that little ditch there on the side? I don't know, and the houses didn't feel super Sumatran either, so I don't know. I just kind of chickened out there, and Ricky ends up sending Kalimantan, and we end up losing 1,800 points for that. All right, we got a couple of Piranha Pines in our face here, so just slamming Santa Catarina, just hedging for the most of the Piranha Pine area. It ends up being northeastern Piranha, which is a fine result because we only do 112 worth of damage. We're moving around 3 in Czechia here. And yeah, we have a .cz on the domain there. Yeah, I wasn't really sure on the region guess here. Some of the houses feel maybe a bit more, I don't know really. I wasn't really sure, but I see it says ski service. So I'm like, okay, maybe we're close to the ski resorts, which, at least to my knowledge, is mostly in, like, on the Polish border and stuff. But actually ends up being southwest, and maybe there's a ski resort close to there. I'm not really too familiar with Czech ski resorts, but yeah, ends up being southwest, which I thought was interesting. Round 4. I guess houses did look a bit German in hindsight, so maybe it makes sense. Bangladesh here. Just very tropical looking with, you see these trees a lot. I don't know exactly what kind of trees they are, but very tropical looking trees, very just tropical looking landscape in general. And yeah, we move into multis now, round 5, 1.5x damage in a no front plate state here. So I couldn't really place this one. Like, the houses seemed quite generic. It didn't seem too northern. So we ended up just sending Arkansas here. Thought it was quite reasonable with no fronts. Kansas and Oklahoma also make sense because soil is like slightly red tinted in a way. But yeah, Ricky ends up sending, I think, Sask, or just hedging for Sask at least. But ends up being Kansas with no front, which makes sense. We gain 1486, and, you know, it's pretty much back to even now in terms of health. And we move into round 6. In very central Java-looking pavement there with those 2 concrete, basically, like, lines in the road that where the tires go. And, yeah, we both know that one. It ends up being Yogyakarta, but both pretty close there. 164 damage for Ricky, and we move in around 7, 2.5. In a befuddling one, I had to think about this one for a while, actually. Because as you guys can see, the sun is pretty clearly north here. You can see the shadows on the fences being casted south. So I thought about where in Argentina this could possibly be. And I was like, it doesn't really look like Argentina to me. Like, I know we have red soil, but I couldn't think of where you would get a mountain range like that. With, like, this kind of red soil looking landscape. It's a bit too green for Jujuy. So I immediately think, okay, maybe South Africa makes sense, I think, with the sun to the north. I couldn't think of where in Chile this would be either. So it does look most like Mexico, if I would say so. But, like, because the sun is north, I can never send Mexico here, I feel like. And I do see a wood pole over there on the left, behind the little sheep farm here, that kind of looks like a South African pole. And the ridge certainly makes sense. So I end up sending, like, west of Cape Town. And I was quite confident in it, but in the country at least. But it actually ends up being Utschum there. And yeah, we pick up the win. Ricky, understandably in Mexico, like, I think that's a pretty understandable guess. Given the landscape did look quite Mexican, but I couldn't really place it in Mexico either with that huge ridge there, and flat land right next to it to the west. All right, we get Ricky again, hopping into another game here. Very red-looking soil as well on this location. And I thought trees felt pretty consistent to like this Kentucky area, Tennessee area. Ends up being Kentucky, east of Bowling Green, so we do pick up about 1,943 points. And we jump into a little bit of round 2 here. I don't know, my brain didn't really work on this one, because we can clearly see backlight here. And I'm like, okay, with backlight here, it's different from the European cars with backlight. Because you can see a little bit of the white tint to the car on both sides of the backlight there, which, at least to my knowledge, would never be Europe. But I said, okay, red car. I mean, I'm probably just going to send Sweden here. And what I thought was a white line there. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a weird Sweden. Trees kind of look northern, but yeah, it just ends up being Wisconsin, which, I mean, makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Like, I really should be getting that, I think. And hopefully I don't make a blunder like that in the future. But that car should pretty much always be the US or not Europe, essentially. All right, this one, maybe some sugarcane here. Big ridge to our northeast. So yeah, Cali Valley comes to mind. We're in a very flat-looking valley. Slight hills on both sides. And I thought Cali Valley was quite reasonable. So we send it. It ends up being Neva, which is the next valley over, but makes sense, you would get some sugarcane there. We get 1578. And we hop in round 4. In Italy here, I think you can see a short plate on that car on the right there, although it is hard to see through the gate. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the architecture looked a bit more like Yasta Valley to me, like western portion. So that's where I end up sending. Especially with, like, some of these houses have the French-style shutters. But I know you can get these wooden shutters like near Venice. I think I went over it at least one time in some Italian meta video. But yeah, it just ends up being like north of Venice in the mountains, which makes sense with the shutters, I guess. Just a bit tough in terms of region guessing the Alpine Italy. For me, round 5, 1.5. Mountains immediately remind me of, well, we'll see where we go here. Yeah, it immediately reminded me of that one place called La Paz, and just one of those like small roads that lead out of La Paz to the northeast. Because I couldn't really place this kind of mountain landscape in Peru. Like, I've never seen these mountains before in Peru. I've definitely seen similar stuff to this in La Paz area. So I thought La Paz was quite reasonable here. And yeah, it's just one of those things from playing the game a lot. Pretty recognizable. And yeah, it just ends up being La Paz. Bit more southwest of my plonk, but regardless, still a good plonk. We have him on 313 HP. As we happen around 6 double damage. In a weird exposed front car here in what appears to be Brazil. I wasn't like 100% sold. I think we're just driving on the good part of the road here, and that's why it looks like we're driving left, technically, but, I mean, clearly not. The pole was also a bit weird, because it looks very skinny, so I didn't think it could be a ladder pole. But, like, I couldn't really place this one. It's 2024 coverage, so we both end up sending Goyas, and it ends up being Para there. So, not quite sure how to get that one. That's above my pay grade. Maybe that car is Para 2024 exposed blue. I don't know. But yeah, we move into another game here against Snupi, 1739. So could be a big ELO loss if we do lose this game. But we will try our best not to. I do notice we have a couple of Sumatra palms there that I zoom in on behind this pole. Mixed with a lot of these oil palms that you see on the other side to the southwest. So I thought, you know, houses look quite Sumatran, pillars and such. With the Sumatran palms and the double pole, I don't know why I go Nias there. That's a bit weird. But yeah, I really wanted to go Nias there, I guess. I don't know why. Sure. We just ended up sending Bengkulu there. And I think it makes sense to be West Coast. Double pole, pretty good meta for like Bengkulu. You can get it in Lampung sometimes, but yeah, it's pretty common in the western part of Sumatra. Not to say that it can't be found on like in the eastern parts, but yeah, it is pretty common on that yellow road there. Yeah, it ends up being a bit more south in Bengkulu, but we do get this state or the province or whatever. Round 2. In a pretty weird location, like the houses were yellow here. Like for a second, I initially thought Thailand looking at that house to the south, east. Like, I don't know if you guys see the vision, maybe not. Dirt road, like this. I mean, those houses are never Thailand, I would say, especially that yellow house. And neither is that house. But that little warehouse there down the road, do I ever zoom in on it again? Maybe not. But yeah, it just was super flat. Houses looked Italian, so yeah, that warehouse thing kind of reminded me of Thailand in a little bit. But I realized we were in Europe, and yeah, I think Italy just fit a bit too well with the houses, the colorful houses there, especially the yellow one. And architecture reminded me a lot of Po Valley, so it does end up being Po Valley there, west of Milan. Pick up 1179 for it, so good points. Help calm the nerves a little bit because we are playing someone who's about 300 elo below us, so if we do lose this game, it is a bit of a huge loss to our elo, maybe even 30 down. But yeah, we have a tie pole here. Pretty big buildings in the distance to the west. So I think we just settle on Bangkok here. And just to make sure, to see if I can find an area code or something, I give it a quick spin once again. But yeah, I mean, big building like this. And pretty urban looking, I'd say. So we just click Bangkok. And ends up being North Bangkok there in Nonthaburi, I think. Yeah, 25 damage, which is cool with me. And we up it to round 4. In a weird round. I mean, I noticed we have a yellow plate on that bike, so I'm not going to mess around. Like, it looks northwest, very sandy. We do have some coconut palms, so I would assume we're pretty close to the coast. So I go Sincelejo or Cartagena, I think. Yeah, I go Cartagena. Yeah, I think the architecture makes sense. The banana plants, the palm trees, how coastal it looks. It looks pretty sandy. All makes sense for coastal. Colombia, it ends up being San Antero there. Better region guess from Snupi. But we get 180 points back in our face. And moving around 5, 1.5x damage now. In Indonesia once again. Yeah, I didn't love this one. Because as you guys know, Indonesia is not my strong suit. And I wasn't quite sure on this one. I don't know. We do have these metal poles, which, I don't know, should never really be Java. Or at least not something that I've seen consistently everywhere in Java. So yeah, immediately I start thinking about, could it be Sumatra? It doesn't feel like Sumatra. The architecture doesn't feel like Sumatra. We have a lot of coconut palms behind there. And yeah, I was really confused on whether or not to go Kalimantan or Sulawesi. I think that was my 50-50 here. Maybe those poles are never Kalimantan. So, I don't know. We just end up hedging that south part of Sulawesi there. So, I thought it was the best guess out in the moment. Just wasn't really sure where to place this one, to be quite frank. But ends up being Kalimantan in Balikpapan there. Which makes sense. Maybe the metal poles are a bit more consistently in Kalimantan. So nice guess by Snupi there. We do lose some points. And we're driving left here with the antenna blue car. So that should indicate South Africa. I do love me some South Africa region guessing. It is quite fun. And it felt kind of green, very rolling hills, which reminded me of this part of KwaZulu-Natal, east of Lesotho. Seems very rural looking as well, but you get a ton of rolling hills and quite green coverage over there. So, just end up sending there. And it ends up being there pretty close. And I'm quite happy with that guess. We'll take it. 1364. So in the lead now as we move into round 7. 2.5x damage. In Chile. I don't know. This one had quite a weird feel to it because I thought the soil felt, I don't know, even volcanic in a way because it seems like kind of black, but maybe it's just really dark soil. Yeah, I was a bit confused by this one. We couldn't see any mountains in any I mean, there's a small hill there, but like I was like, okay, it's surely not like one of these places because we would see at least some big mountains around in any direction, which we didn't. So I thought Chiloe was like the best guess with the knowledge that I have. But I mean, you guys will see where this is. I mean, for some reason, I don't know why I didn't consider, like, I guess looking around again, it makes sense. I'm just not used to seeing it like this rural looking, and it seems weirdly flat. But it ends up being like northwest of Los Angeles, which, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I just thought the soil felt really weird. It felt a bit more south to me. But yeah, we end up losing some points there. We're moving around 8. I hate this round with a passion. I have not learned my Greenland Trekkers because it comes up like once every 200 games. But I hated that it came up on this particular game in which I was playing against someone who's 300 ETA lower than me. So yeah, not my favorite. I just end up hedging. You can see me shaking the screen there because I am quite tilted by this location. Because if Snupi knows it, then I just lose the game immediately. Which, I don't know. Don't like Greenland Trekkers in maps, personally. And yeah, it ends up being the eastern one. Luckily, he didn't know it, so we got quite lucky there. Quite fortunate. And we're moving around 9. 3.5. In a very odd round, no antenna here. And I see like stripes on the light post here, which, I don't know, like maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but I feel like you see those very rarely. Like, it's hard for me to think of an instance in which I've seen that on many Eastern European rounds in general. Houses look Eastern European. I mean, it doesn't look like West Europe to me, like France or Belgium or something like that. So I immediately looking towards the Slavic countries, Balkans as well, and just anything in that area. And with no antenna here, I don't know, it does exist in both Czechia and Slovakia Gen 3. I didn't think this was Serbia, because something felt quite weird to have these rolling hills like this. Especially in Serbia, like, I couldn't really place where you get flatness like this with rolling hills. Because when you get rolling hills in Serbia, you pretty much get it in loads. Where it's like, you wouldn't get a one-off, like, too many rolling hills, I guess. If that makes sense. And I don't know, the polls didn't feel Serbian to me as well. I spent a long time deliberating about this round because I'm really not sure. I end up settling on Slovakia, but like, yeah, you can see me highlighting Czechia there as a possibility. But yeah, it just ends up being Czechia, like southeast of Opava there. Which is fair enough. I mean, luckily we go for a similar hedge there, and we come out okay. Round 10. Okay, Turkey round is technically good for me because I feel like my Turkey knowledge, at least compared to the general population of GeoGuessr players, is probably better. We have these very square-looking houses, which does remind me of like the southern stuff near Syria border. We also have that ball water tank, which is quite common on that southern portion, like near the Syria border as well. I see a mountain to the north, so immediately I'm scanning for that. I guess it doesn't feel like too big of a city, so I could have disregarded like Diyarbakir or Batman. I end up going for this because I do see a hill there, which I'm like, okay, maybe that makes sense. Like, it could theoretically. I can't read what the street sign says, really. It starts with 2 C's, but I don't even know if that's like, I don't know. That could just be something else, to be honest. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is okay. Although, yeah, we got to be more up here because otherwise we would be looking into the city center, I guess, if we look north. I think the hill looks decent. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm sending this. It is a bit of a commit, but yeah, I mean, maybe I should have gave it a bit more of a scan. I legitimately thought that we were good here. I legitimately thought we would probably get more ball water tanks though if we were there. Probably ends up being Organi, which makes sense with that mountain as well. I think I was in Diabark here initially, which is quite unfortunate that I didn't scan more northwest of that, like the town northwest. We would have found it, but life goes on. Moving to this round, Gen 3 again. I do love me some Gen 3 Europe, or Gen 2 Europe in general, because that probably has the most likelihood for blunders in terms of missing countries and stuff. And I feel like I'm probably one of the better players in terms of like getting the country pretty consistently, at least, in most cases. So I think Spain here makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, that rocky hill there, the autumn coverage. The rock wall also felt a bit weird for, Greece. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going Greece here. I don't really think the rock wall makes sense for there. And the more I looked at it, the more I liked Spain with this landscape. I mean, I'm not super confident in it. You can see me shaking the screen there. But I think it makes the most sense with the coverage and, the rock walls and such. So we end up sending Spain. Ends up being Spain, luckily, and west of Madrid. I think they send Bari with the rock walls, which makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if you'd get that hilly of a landscape there. It looked kind of high up, I guess. But yeah, we pick up 5 rating for it, 2033. And we queue up for another game here, NMPZ against Ricky Beast. Once again, round 1 in Kenya. No follow card to be seen. I just clicked Nairobi here. I'm not even going to bother with the region guess, because whenever I try to region guess Kenya, it goes horribly wrong. Am I clicking Eldoret there? Probably not. So 357 damage, which is reasonable. Round 2. In what appears to be Argentina, we have a ridge there to the east. Sun is pretty clearly north, as you can see by the shadows of some of these bushes. On the left side of the screen, you can see the shadow casting south, so sun should be north, which means we should be in the southern hemisphere. And yeah, I see a ridge pretty closely to our east. I mean, I guess it's not that close, it's pretty far away, but I try to think, okay, what makes sense with this landscape that is going to have a ridge like that? I kind of just end up settling on somewhere in San Juan, because I'm like, okay, it makes sense, ridge east with this kind of landscape. He sends me a crying emoji, I send one back, because I'm really not sure on this one. So, region guess-wise, not the easiest. Yeah, it actually ends up being La Rioja right over the border, and we're looking at that ridge there that I zoom in on for a brief second. But yeah, better region guess there, which is good. And we take the 1526, we move it around 3. In India, not my favorite. Yeah, we just end up clicking Maha here because I guess soil is not that dark, so maybe I should be pushing a bit more north. Maybe I should be going like Madhya Pradesh. It does end up being UP. Can't tell where the borders are, man. But I guess that's never Rajasthan. It's a bit too east. Anyway, round 4 reminds me of Northern Territory stuff. The red shoulders on the sides of the road. It's a bit of an elevated road as well. But it doesn't feel like too far north here because it feels quite dry. So I end up going for Kakadu, but it ends up being the MacArthur Road, which, I don't know. Maybe I should be getting. I know, like, as you get east of MacArthur, I think, it turns into, like, half a road. Like a very small dirt or concrete road. But I guess west of it, maybe I've never seen it before. All right. UK here. Yeah. I mean, very UK-looking house on the right there. We have a UK-style gate with the straight bar going down like this. It's not a rounded bar like you would get on the island of Ireland. So yeah, I thought UK was just the play. And it ends up being all the way south, northeast of Eastbourne there, right next to the All Saints Church. And that'll be 78 points of damage as we hop in around 6 double damage. In an interesting round, thought Colombia, because the pole does not look hexagonal, and it is extremely flat. I couldn't really place this with the soil color in many parts of like Veracruz, Tabasco, where it would be flat like this. So I thought East of Andes probably worked out the best, and it was East of Andes. Ends up being a bit further southwest of my plonk, but yeah, pretty even game here as we hop in around 7. 2.5x damage. Notice Wisconsin sticker there on the pull. Immediately, we see it, we slam it. You need to get your opponent off guard sometimes, and you need to put some pressure on to force them to make a bad guess. I mean, autumn coverage is common, but yeah, you can see the white sticker on the pole there, which that long sticker like that is pretty much Wisconsin. It's a very good meta for Wisconsin as well. Yeah, we end up getting it there, which is great. We pick up 40-55, which is not quite enough for the KO. But we move in around 8 triple damage in the driver's seat. I don't know. Maybe in hindsight, I should realize this road is quite red. So maybe I should just be sending in Delarna County, which is like the one that Fallon is in, and Mora. But yeah, ends up being Fallon downtown with the red soil. We could have ended the game there, but we don't. Because I decided to hedge a bit more north. Round 9. Looks like Malaysia here. Black sticker. Trying to look for the copyright just to make sure it's not mainland, because, you know, you can't get that black sticker on mainland nowadays. But I think I see one in the oil palm there on the right. And it looks like a very old looking copyright, like 2019 or something. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're safe to slam mainland. And we go for the Johor click because makes a lot of sense with the oil palms, and we end up getting the win off of that. So we pick up another 12 rating up to 20-45, and we queue for one more game here. And we get Ricky Beast once again. And we'll jump into round 1 in Japan. We have a Tohoku style like box thing here. I guess I can't really highlight it because I can't really use my mouse because you guys are looking at the mouse of the recording, but yeah, Tohoku box on the second pole there, holding up that transformer, and the reflective pads on the bottom of that first pole there with the white and black. That's pretty much only found around Kanto and Tohoku, I would say. So yeah, it ends up being Tohoku, but yeah, it felt a little bit weird. I guess it makes sense to be coastal, but it ends up being north of Aomori on that little peninsula. Which, if you get that, I mean, props to you. Round 2. In a weird round, no road lines here. I think road felt a bit more European than it did French, especially how it cuts off, like, randomly towards the edges of the road here. I'm just like, alright. Vegetation seems more French as well, or more European, so yeah, I think France was the best solution. It ends up being west, north of Bordeaux. But we end up clicking label, and we pick up 317 points. So we'll take that. And we jump into round 3. And we have a boxcar here. So yeah, I'm never clicking Madhya Pradesh, because at least to my knowledge, there is no boxcar in Madhya Pradesh aside from Spill. So you'd have to decide between Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, or any of those northern states there. Ends up being Gujarat, which, I mean, we didn't have a holy poll, so if you send there, you're kind of banned. But yeah, we end up being closer in Maha. Notice we have white car with backlight 2023. Looks pretty consistent to the stuff that you really do get in Queensland, especially on like the 83 here, and then those 3 roads has a lot of this car with very red soil. And yeah, it ends up being the 14 road. Nice guess by Ricky Beast there. But yeah, it just looked like very outback Queensland. So we get that one. We move in around 5, 1.5x damage. In Peru, yeah, it doesn't really feel Colombian, like these big, very forested mountains. We have a ditch on the side of the road, which is definitely much more of a Peruvian thing. You'll see it a lot in Peru and Ecuador, not as much in Colombia, I would say. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in Peru here. And we try to go for a fast send. He sends me a crying emoji. He's probably not sure, honestly, on the country. But he actually ends up making a better plonk than I do. And it ends up being Tarapoto on that road that goes down to the river, which I had just seen the other day for the first time. And we have it around 6 double damage. In Nigeria, we have a ladder pole there on the left. Looks very, very dry. Reminded me of like the stuff west of Kano, but I didn't want to hedge all the way there, going all the way to Sokoto, so I kind of hedged a bit more west, and yeah, it ends up paying off. We do pick up 1436 for that. Nigeria, deceptively big country, so good points. Round 7. In Sweden, I mean, short outer dashes. and Big Hill, so I just click east of Gothenburg, but yeah, it ends up being a bit more southeast there. Random road. But yeah, only 152 points of damage. We happened around 8 triple. In Mexico here, single yellow center line. I guess in hindsight, it's very, very tropical. Seems more like East Coast Mexico to me. So maybe I should just be clicking Tabasco here, because we have a coconut palm. Looks quite green. Just ends up being north of El Tigre there. And yeah, that's actually a big chunk of damage on triple damage, so not quite happy about that one, but we move in around 9, 3.5. In what I thought was Texas, but we don't really have like that grainy Texas pavement. So I end up heading a bit more north, like north of Dallas. Kind of where I clicked against that Japanese ult yesterday. I thought this was an okay hedge, because it felt like Texas, but it wasn't Texas. But yeah, I guess when it feels like Texas, and it's not Texas, where should you send? That's right, guys. You should send Oklahoma, which is what it was. So quite unfortunate there. We do lose a big chunk of points there. So we're down to 1166. So we're on the verge of losing this game. We up in around 10 quad damage. And we get this round, which I immediately think Poland initially. But something about the road feels a bit more Russian to me. Maybe with how wide it is. And we do have like some birches, I think, as well. Which, I mean, you can get in Poland, of course. But the autumn coverage definitely reminded me of stuff that you can get in Bryansk or like Tula or Belgorod, stuff like that. So yeah, we end up sending there. We actually end up getting the country and we end up getting the win. It ends up being Belgorod there, I think, just in the Oblast. And they go Poland, which is quite understandable because that was my initial thought. All right, we're up to 2056, which is where we're going to end the video here, which puts us at 29th on the leaderboard there. And yeah, on NAPZ, we're 21st, so not too bad. Could be worse. And yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another GeoGuessr video. Peace.